Okay. Well, welcome everybody. It's a great day to have a fire briefing, given the weather outside. I want to start by saying government's chief responsibility is to keep people safe. That's why it's so important that we gather here today to prepare, to collaborate, and to unify our commitment to protecting our people, communities, and lands. But first off, I want to thank our firefighters for their courageous work in combating these fires that we face every single summer. These men and women brave long hours, rugged terrain, hot temperatures, and time away from family to keep our communities safe and protect our lands. Their untold sacrifices cannot be calculated in dollars spent or acres burned. Their dedication and commitment to communities is truly remarkable. They do all they can to keep us safe, and we must return the favor by doing all we can to ensure their safety as they're out sacrificing and risking their lives for us. While we cannot control the weather, we can take steps to mitigate the risk of severe wildfires by continuing to focus on two things. First, aggressive attack on all fires, and secondly, active forest management. With every fire, we must respond with one goal: to put the fire out as quickly and as safely as possible. Regardless of where a fire starts, we must apply the same operating principle, and that is aggressive attack. But aggressive initial attack is not enough. We must pursue a policy of aggressive attack on all fires until they are extinguished, so long as firefighter safety is not at risk. The smaller a fire is, the fewer resources that are needed to contain it before it gets out of hand. Aggressive attack helps keep wildfires small while minimizing their impact. Last year, we kept 96% of our fires in our direct protection limited to 10 acres or less. That's a tremendous success, and real congratulations to our firefighters for doing that amazing work. This effective response model goes a long way to protecting our firefighters and minimizing the impact of new fires. Without the state's commitment to aggressive attack, Montana would have had many more large-scale fires. We know it takes all hands on deck to suppress these fires and minimize their impact on families, homes, and property. Thankfully, we've had very strong collaboration at the state, federal, and county level in all of our fire suppression efforts. Let's continue to work together to suppress fire. We must also keep working together to prevent wildfires in the first place. We can minimize the risk of wildfires by being good stewards of our lands, better managing our forests, and reducing fuel loads. When a forest is managed properly, we have less severe wildfires, more recreational opportunities, more wildlife habitat, and more jobs in our communities. Active management not only will protect our forests, but also our way of life. It's why we've made active forest management a top priority in our administration. Led by Director Castor, who we'll hear from in a little bit at DNRC, we've demonstrated our commitment to meet ambitious forest management goals we've set. When I took office, we set out to more than double the number of acres under active forest management, and DNRC got it done. I'm really proud of the work that they've done. In 2022, we set another ambitious goal for forest management, and again, DNRC got it done. And as I was happy to report earlier this year, they got it done again, placing over 36,000 acres of forested acres under management in 2023. This is great news for Montana, and even better news, we're not done yet. Last legislative session, we reaffirmed our commitment to forest management projects across the state. I was proud to sign into law House Bill 883 to secure $60 million to expand our capacity and ability to utilize every tool available to manage more acres, effectively reducing wildfire risk, improving forest health, and increasing our preparedness. The results of these investments and projects speak for themselves: healthier forests and safer communities. And together we can continue to build healthier, more resilient forests, but it will take all of us. That's why I'm calling on everyone here to join us to get more private, state, tribal, and federal acres actively managed. We can continue building on our success immediately, and we have a model and infrastructure in place to do it. That's our Good Neighbor Authority, which is in the Farm Bill. We've seen that this works on the ground in our communities. The deployment of GNA has demonstrated its reliability and viability as an effective tool, increasing timber supply to the market and making our forests healthier. And now more than ever, it's important that we maintain a sustainable supply from federal lands to support our lumber and wood products industry and the good jobs it provides. I appreciate the work that DNRC is doing and leading the charge on a number of historic projects in the state that do just that. The bottom line is we need more projects like this under the Good Neighbor Authority. And my challenge to all the folks here with us is to help us find them, build partnerships, and utilize tools available to bring more acres under active management. Let's get it done for the people of Montana. Thank you all for joining us here today. I'm looking forward to hearing an update from the partners we have up in front here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Director Castor.
Thank you very much, Governor. Governor, I want to thank you for hosting today's fire briefing and for your leadership and your commitment in addressing our forest and wildfire health crisis. I also want to thank, in addition to the Governor, the Montana Legislature for the work that they did to increase the tools and the availability of funds to increase the pace and scale of forest management across the state. The passage of House Bill 883, as the Governor noted, has provided DNRC with the necessary resources to take meaningful action when it comes to improving the conditions of our forests and for providing increased preparedness for wildfire suppression and response. In today's briefing, you will hear from state, federal, and local government partners who will provide you with an update on their preparedness and readiness for the upcoming fire season. DNRC, along with our partners today, will work together to protect Montanans, our communities, infrastructure, and natural resources from catastrophic wildfire. As part of Wildfire Awareness Month, we are ramping up our efforts to educate and engage our communities throughout Montana, increasing awareness for wildfire risks and encouraging proactive steps to protect homes and properties. I want to make sure everyone is aware the state of Montana and DNRC is prepared for the 2024 fire season, not only through our fire protection program, but through the work we do to reduce wildfire risk through cross-boundary landscape scale forest management. I will be leading the round robin and calling up partners one by one, so I'd like to begin with Matt Hall, who is the Fire Protection Bureau Chief for the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. Matt.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. It's great to be here. I really appreciate all of you with partners here to talk about wildfire preparedness here today. Governor, I appreciate you convening Montana's wildfire partners to update us on readiness for the 2024 fire year. As we head into core response season for wildfire preparedness, it's our interagency efforts as partners here this morning that produced the strength behind our wildfire response system here in Montana. And DNRC is committed to actively working with them to protect Montanans and our communities. DNRC's operational resources will staff interagency dispatch centers, engines, and helicopters throughout the state in support of both our direct protection and county co-op responsibilities here in the state of Montana. Our current focus is hiring and training the DNRC workforce. Governor, with your leadership on the state employee pay plan this year, we're excited to offer an entry wildland firefighter a wage of $19.05 starting in July. It's more important than ever that we continue to modernize, grow, and develop our wildfire workforce, and we look forward to continuing that work. Today, fire management officers are actively recruiting and filling firefighting positions. I know we have a number of open fire jobs still posted today, but anticipate over the course of the next few weeks filling those positions fully with all of our seasonal staffing. DNRC also coordinates, develops, and delivers training and equipment to all 56 counties in the state of Montana through our tremendous partnership in the County Cooperative Fire Protection Program. This supports local volunteer firefighters who provide safe, effective wildfire response in their local communities. Notably this year, our Equipment Development Center has produced 14 Type 5 wildland fire engines, and over the course of the next 2 months, we'll be delivering those to the following counties: Beaverhead, Blaine, Cascade, Choteau, Custer, Fergus, Gallatin, Golden Valley, Marr, Musselshell, Phillips, Powder River, Sweetgrass, and Stillwater counties for fire response this summer. Additionally, the DNRC County Assist Team, or CAT, is ready to deploy. The CAT is an all-hazard incident management team formed to support rural and volunteer firefighters when they have fire incidents that exceed the capability of their county. As the director stated, through House Bill 883, DNRC continues to increase preparedness resources in the state. The intent here is to increase the number of available resources to respond to wildfire. We successfully leveraged this in 2023 with a mix of aviation and ground resources. Last year, that included 2 Type 2 initial attack hand crews, an infrared and mapping detection platform, as well as 3 helicopters and 5 Type 3 air tankers, in addition to our normal aviation and ground resources. Increased preparedness will remain a focus for us in 2024. Starting in July, we will have 2 Type 2 initial attack hand crews, and we're excited to be bringing on a Type 1 tanked helicopter available for response this year. As fire conditions escalate, we will be poised to bring on additional ground and aviation assets when conditions warrant. Now, I know it's snowing out there this morning, and most of you drove in through snow, but as the director said, it is Wildfire Awareness Month here in May, and the forecast does have some warmer weather coming pretty quickly. And so I'd like to highlight wildfire preparedness is not just a task for our wildfire responders. We also need citizens across Montana to take time and prepare for the potential impacts of wildfire this summer. The DNRC has staff across the state of Montana to help prepare folks, and so we encourage you to visit mtfireinfo.org to learn how to prepare your property for wildfire and request a fire professional to come conduct a wildfire home risk assessment. To date, we are on track to have firefighting resources ready and available for the 2024 fire year, and we look forward to working with our partners across Montana to increase wildfire readiness to better serve the citizens of Montana. Governor, thank you for your support to the DNRC Fire Protection Program and just fire protection in Montana. So, Director, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Matt. Next up is Delilah Bruno, who's the Division Administrator for the Montana Department of Montana Disaster and Emergency Services. Thank you.
Good morning, Governor, Director Castor. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. Bottom line up front, we stand ready to support the DNRC and the state of Montana in the event of this wildfire season as we run into the next few months here. We stand ready with a 24/7 duty officer program, 6 district field officers able to engage with community leaders and community emergency management programs to make sure that our citizens are best postured to deal with the months ahead. In the event that we do see some cascading impacts, damages from wildfires this season, we stand ready to help those communities recover, and we'll bring as much resources to the table as we possibly can. We're proud of our public-facing dashboard at the des.mt.gov website, where we are proud to bring in resources such as the DNRC's fire page and overlay that with other conditions that are taking place in the state that give an all-hazards pictures of what's going on in our communities. Sir, if you ever need a disaster declaration for one of our communities, we stand ready to make sure that there's no red tape in the way to get that out of the way and get whatever resources committed from the state level that we possibly can to make sure that we're in good shape again to support. As a reminder, if we do get into a situation when we do need federal resources, we are proud to partner with FEMA, who often brings in about 75% of some of the eligible costs that can be associated with presidential disaster declarations. It's very uncommon that we actually see wildfire expenses categorized into pure disaster declarations at the federal level. However, when it does happen, we're there to walk side by side with communities and make sure that we can get reimbursement in place. We also see fire management assistance grants take place in the state quite frequently over the past few years. That's been about over $8.5 million that have been reimbursed to the state of Montana through this program. And we continue to partner with the NRC to make sure that we're pursuing those in a timely manner. In the event that your National Guard is needed, we stand ready to make sure that those soldiers and airmen are available and able to be kicked out to the communities to support those in need. And we also are very proud of the network with the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, or EMAC Compact, that allows us to bring in resources from other states as well as share resources if needed. That's an excellent program. We've been in places as far as Hawaii this past year helping with recovery efforts in Lahaina, and also in past years in situations such as hurricanes and tornadoes and things of that nature. It's a great asset. We're really proud to have that in our state. And with that, I'll stand for questions at the end. So.
Thank you, Delilah. Next, I'd like to recognize Deputy Renee Dorval with the Montana National Guard.
Thank you and good morning, Governor, Director. On behalf of General Ronick, Renee Dorval here to provide a National Guard update. So bottom line up front, your Montana National Guard is ready and postured to respond as needed to support the civil authorities in the great state of Montana. We've conducted thorough mission analysis through our joint planning group, and that also includes collaboration with DNRC, with DES and other agencies to make sure that our language and our preparedness is shared across those agencies. Our ground, air, and personnel assets are postured and ready to go as well. We have 22 aircraft, numerous ground rolling stock. The aircraft are postured in 2 locations right now in both Helena and Billings. Our rolling stock is postured and ready in 16 communities across the great state of Montana. And then we have over 2,400 personnel that are ready to respond. When we take the oath to protect and defend our state and nation, Governor, that's exactly what we are. So when you need us, we will be there. So subject to your questions at the end, that's what I have to share, and your Montana National Guard is here and ready.
Thank you. Next up is Chris Dorrington, Director of the Montana Department of Environmental Quality.
Thank you. Good morning, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Director. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Partners, the largest impacts to air quality across our state are from wildfire smoke. DEQ's role during fire season is to collect accurate air quality data, communicate air quality impacts and conditions to the public, and collaborate with other state and federal agencies. DEQ's Air Quality Bureau monitors air quality across the state of Montana through our ambient monitoring network. The primary pollutant of concern from wildfire smoke is PM 2.5, particulate matter smaller than 2.5 microns. Our PM 2.5 monitoring network includes 24 permanent monitoring sites, 5 temporary monitors for emergency deployment, and non-regulatory sensors at schools across the state. Since last year, our monitoring team has used direct grants to establish new permanent PM 2.5 monitoring sites at Shoto and Glendive. In 24, an additional site will be brought online in Glasgow, completing DEQ's planned expansion of our regulatory PM 2.5 monitoring network. June of 2023 marked the beginning of a 3-year initiative to provide citizens across the access to local scale air quality data in our most rural and underserved Montana communities. DEQ has awarded around $450,000 to establish a non-regulatory community monitoring network of air sensors throughout the state. The majority of these sensors will be installed at partner high schools as part of DEQ's Purple Airs in Schools program. Response to the program has been overwhelmingly positive. 1 year into the 3-year program, 96 schools have engaged with the air quality program, 80 schools have the sensors in hand, and 30 schools have installed an active air sensor on site. Once activated, real-time data from these sensors are publicly available on the EPA's AirNow Fire and Smoke map. DEQ also supports the work of those attending this briefing today by providing air monitors that can be deployed on a temporary emergency basis to impacted communities across the state. To request a temporary monitor or for more information, a local government representative should contact Air Quality Research and Monitoring Section Supervisor Kelly Dorsey, who I'd like to recognize is here also today. DEQ displays PM 2.5 monitoring data on our Today's Air website. It's a very active website. Today's Air is the most visited website in Montana state government. This website provides hourly air quality conditions, smoke forecasting, and links to other air quality and wildfire resources. Outside of the fire season, as all of the partners work year-round in order to make this work happen, DEQ works year-round to support our partners with prescribed burning efforts as well that often include fuels management work. DEQ works with the stakeholders to find appropriate windows for burning that minimize smoke impacts to the people of Montana. DEQ understands the need for increased prescribed burns across the state, and our goal is to ensure important work gets completed while minimizing impacts to Montana communities. DEQ has worked effectively with partners and generally has a burn approval rate above 90% for major burners. Thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you, Chris. Next, I'd like to recognize Bryce Rogers, Regional Fire Management Officer for the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for the invite, Governor, partners. Give you a quick update of our 2023 fire. We had 350 fires, 9 less than last year, but the thing is acres are a lot less this year, and over 90% of those are less than 10 acres, so good there. We have 2 helicopters, Type 3 exclusive use, one in Crow, the other one is in Billings, and we're starting to hire some positions, so that's a plus for BIA as we continue to support the tribes. We have 1 Type 2 IA crew out of Chief Mountain, out of Browning, and again, we'll continue to support and work with our partners and strengthen our relationships during the time of need. So thank you again. That's all I got, unless anyone has questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Bryce. Next, I'd like to recognize Paul Serta, the Regional Fire Management Officer for the National Park Service.
Thank you, Governor, for the invite. The National Park Service is in lockstep with their interagency partners and aggressive initial response to all fires within the state of Montana. So out of the 2 park units that we have here in the state, Glacier being the one to the north, we have our lookouts and ground resources available and are ready. Within the region, we're averaging about a 6% vacancy rate. In Yellowstone, we have ground and aviation assets in and available, and so those resources are coming on right now, onboarding, doing required training. Aircraft will show up in the middle of May for short haul training, and then they'll be available to the state as well as our interagency partners across the nation. Within that, we're hosting also 2 Montana Conservation Corps crews, 1 all-female crew in Yellowstone, and their focus is going to be hazard fuel mitigation in and around infrastructure and surrounding communities in and adjacent to the park unit. And then we'll host in another conservation crew at Glacier. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next up is Tim Garcia, who's the Deputy Regional Forester for the U.S. Forest Service Region 1.
Hey, good morning, and Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Director, thank you for your invitation. Appreciate it. I wanted to echo something that the Governor mentioned, and that is the relationship that the Forest Service has under the Good Neighbor Authority with the state of Montana, and we've made incredible strides toward hazard fuel mitigation across the state in and around the 7 national forests in Montana, and it didn't come randomly. It was as direct intention from Director Castor and the state forester and his staff on really partnering with the Forest Service on reducing fuels in those high priority areas throughout Montana to protect both the communities and infrastructure in the state. And I'm really proud of that. That is just really a model that other states could take in advance, because it's something that that we're completely invested in and will continue to see benefits from. The Forest Service offers technical and financial assistance for prevention, fuel reduction, and equipping and training firefighters, state, local, and tribal firefighters throughout the state of Montana through our state private and tribal forestry program that's delivered through Montana DNRC, and we're really proud of the efforts that's taken, because it's everything from prevention, mitigation, and suppression that we are lockstep with the NRC and the state of Montana on. We've got our 7 national forests, firefighting and fuel assets that are available and at the ready to support our initial response to fires, and are working closely with our agency administrators to assure that we are early and often communicating with our state, local, and tribal partners on identifying those and implementing strategies related to initial response and if necessary, extended response to fires. And that foundationally is based on and built on the trust and the relationships that we have with our state DNRC partners. We encourage and direct our line officers to really make sure that we're having those people having everyone at the table as we go into fire season, so that again, we have that early and often communication. We'll continue to implement the National Wildfire Crisis Strategy, and we're doing that again in lockstep with the resources and assets that DNRC helps with. I think we can show a lot of effort again to reduce those fuels. I finally want to really pass my recognition and appreciation on for, you see a hangar full of equipment that's at the ready to respond to the wildfire season this year, but also the additional contract and that Type 1 heavy helicopter that's going to be available, I think, is going to make significant positive impact to suppressing fires quickly when they start. So again, thank you for your time. I'll be available for any questions after. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. And last but not least is Adrian Beck, representing the Montana County Fire Wardens Association.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Governor. It's my pleasure to be here today. People always say, well, what's the fire season going to look like? And we oftentimes say, well, we'll tell you in October. And I say that with some confidence in that whatever this fire season brings, know that your counties are ready. Your county fire wardens are working year-round in coordination with the state, all of their local fire districts, whether they're full-time paid, combination, or all volunteer. They have been able to build capacity over the last couple of years, thanks to funding made available that has been referenced today, in innovative ways at the county level, based on what makes sense at those different counties. Montana is a huge state. There's diverse capabilities with paid and volunteer departments, and they're increasing those capabilities every single day with the funding that's been made available, whether that's enhancing online leadership, availing themselves of additional training, or upfitting their fleet with new equipment. The other thing that is strong in Montana is our mutual aid partners, our ability to help our neighbors, to move equipment, to move resources in the support of our neighbors. Montana has one of the strongest mutual aid networks that I know of in all of the 50 states. Without question, when they raise the flag and say they need help, everyone comes running. Later this month, the Montana County Association of Fire Wardens will hold the Montana Wildfire Leadership Conference in Billings, where we will gather with all the county fire wardens, DNRC, our federal partners, and talk about the season ahead. We are ready and willing to help whenever the call is made. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really want to thank all of our state, federal, and local partners for sharing your valuable contributions and insights this morning with us. And thank you to the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, for bringing us together to really reiterate the importance of partnership, cooperativeness, and speaking the same language when it comes to combating wildfires and to addressing our forest health crisis. We truly are working in the best interests of Montana to protect lives, property, and natural resources. With that, Governor Gianforte, I'd like to pass the closing remarks off to you.
Thank you, Director, and thank you to each of our partners for being here and the collaboration and the joint work that we do. It wouldn't be possible with this coordination. In closing, I just want to reiterate that we can't stop every wildfire from starting, but we can control our actions and our preparedness. As Montanans, we all have a role in preventing wildfires. It's critical that we stay informed so we can protect our firefighters and communities this fire season. Preparing for a wildfire is a year-round effort. Simple and inexpensive mitigation actions reduce the vulnerability to our homes and our communities. Ultimately, fire-adapted communities are essential to keeping Montana families safe and reducing the burden that our firefighters face. Keep in mind local fire restrictions. Stay up to date on fires burning in your area. Be responsible outdoors. Unfortunately, a large number of fire starts are human caused, so we all have a role. Always be prepared with an evacuation plan if a wildfire is burning in your area. Simple procedures. Secure chains on your trailers. Make sure every campfire is out. Don't start a campfire if we have severe dry conditions. And prepare your property for potential wildfire by reducing fuels that are close to the structures. I invite all Montanans to learn more about how to prepare their home, family, and community for wildfire resiliency, and visit mtfireinfo.org to get that information. Because the better prepared we are, the safer and more effective our firefighters can be. Together we can keep our loved ones, firefighters, and communities safe this fire season. I want to thank everyone for being here today. And I think with that, we have a lot of volunteers to take questions. So, yes.
So we've heard a lot about the agency's preparedness for the upcoming fire season, but does anybody want to take a whack at what we can tell our readers about what sort of fire season they can expect? We haven't heard much of the forecast.
And what I'd say to that point is that we'll be briefing the governor probably within the next couple of weeks on the fire forecast. It's simply too soon to tell. If you're looking for some additional information around drought conditions, tomorrow morning the governor's Drought and Water Supply Advisory Committee will be meeting, actually in the DEQ building here in Helena. So you'll be able to hear at that point in time what we are currently seeing for conditions. But at this point, it's just simply too soon to tell.
I would just add, we all know the snowpack has been light, so we don't know. The good news is, as of this morning, I understand we had 3 feet of snow in Monarch. So will that stick around? Hopefully. Other questions? Yeah.
How's hiring going for firefighters at the state and federal level so far?
You bet. Thanks for the question. As I stated, we currently have job positions posted and open. As some folks have alluded to, we always have a little bit of a vacancy rate, but right now we're forecasting to be able to fill all of our seasonal wildland fire positions for the state. So again, some of those positions you can find on the state website if you're interested in that, but they're out there and available. Thank you. Yeah, last year I want to say it was like $1,750 is what we started those at.
How does that change hiring? Is that part of the conversation?
Well, it's always a part of that hiring process, right? As we know, it's maybe a little too early to tell what kind of recruitment and retention we get. But I think in this environment that we see with a tight hiring environment, it's always positive for us in recruitment. Thank you.
Do the federal agencies think the same thing, or do you guys expect to be fully staffed for this fire season?
like the state, we have similar challenges related to cost of living and housing in particular. But we have completed we're in the final stages of completing our final hiring, and we should be nearly completely staffed coming into June. So we should be okay. Well, it certainly, when we have firefighters that are working, June through October. What we've seen throughout the state and throughout the northern region is a lot of folks, sort of buddying up to find, short-term housing leasing options, because it's really challenging if we're bringing people in from out. We've got some government housing available for seasonals, but in many communities we just don't, and that therein lies the challenge. Is 4 or 5 month windows where we have that surge of employees, and it really becomes a challenge for seasonal employees.
For you to read a little bit in the past month or two about sort of leadership changes in terms of Type 1 crews, Type 2 crews sort of having more say over stuff in the West. Could you expand on that at all?
Maybe clarify that a little bit.
There was
Yeah.
an AP story about a month ago.
Uh-huh.
Sort of Type 1 crews restructuring to sort of have more of a leadership role rather than getting moved around all over the place.
Well, I can tell you that our interagency hotshot crews, which are Type 1 fire crews, just had a national assessment completed, and it was everything from work environment and sort of well-being to facilities to organizational leadership, and I'd say that from the outcome of that, there were some of the findings were. The tenure of those crews, they're the backbone of the sort of highest trained firefighting forces that we have. We're losing that sort of the tenure of some of the leadership, and so I'm not sure if that was the story. I can't speak directly to the story. I'm sorry. Yep.
We'll finish with tribal staffing.
So for tribal, we've been the last couple of years 60% vacancies. We just started moving forward with some hiring, so that's a plus on our side. But we're starting to see some changes coming in the future. So
Is it
60, yeah, 60%. And some of the challenges are housing at some locations, and there's different factors: hiring, housing. Some of the locations are just tough to get any folks moved up into middle management. So,
I want to finish just one comment on the Montana National Guard. We took an initiative when I came into office to get our soldiers and airmen trained to fight fire. I mean, they're certainly available for community security so the firefighters can do their job, but we have a number of Montana National Guard members now that have their firefighting card. And do you know the number?
Yes.
400. So 400 National Guard have it's the red card that they have to fight fire.
Does that make you feel more inclined to use that resource?
Only if we need to. It's not the first thing, but in the event of catastrophic, it's a resource that's available to us if we need to bring it in. Yes, Holly.
maybe for Director Dorn, if anyone else wants to jump in. I'm wondering with air quality, what are either state or county tribal resources for homes, businesses, schools to help manage that when they do that air quality?
I didn't hear your whole question. If you could restate it, it'd be easier.
Just looking at when we get into bad air quality, what are some of, whether it's state, county, tribal resources to help people if it's in homes, businesses, or schools manage that?
The number one thing is for people to go to the website to evaluate air quality within their community. The health impacts are best directed by local health officials and then state officials, and they'll with the air quality data, they can say whether it's sensitive populations, whether it's athletes in high schools practicing in August, or whether it's the elderly needing to stay inside for a little bit. They would be best able to direct those efforts. Yep.
Okay, well, 2 last questions.
So, research has shown that aggressive fire suppression, decades has kind of put our forests in the shape they're in, that have caused these catastrophic mega fires. So when you have a fire that, property and life is not at risk, how do you rectify this aggressive, continual attack on these fires when maybe a little bit of fire is what those forests need to begin with?
Well, you're right. I mean, fire is a natural part of the landscape. Unfortunately, we have a forest health crisis. I mean, you just have to drive 10 miles west of Helena here. 90% of the standing timber is dead. And when that catches on fire, there's nothing that's going to stop it. So we need to balance all these factors. Montanans expect us for firefighter safety. It's easier to fight a small fire than it is a big fire. We need to couple this aggressive attack with active forest management to reduce the fuel load so we're not in the position where we see these catastrophic fires.
And do we know how many acres have been treated through either the Good Neighbor or on state lands since last year?
Do you want to comment on that?
Thanks, Governor. So like the governor mentioned in his opening remarks, last year the state of Montana put 36,000 acres under active management. And we have some really great tools where we're tracking these resources or these treatments that we've been completing. So that's the work that the state of Montana has done. I know that our federal partners have also put additional acres under management. I can't speak for what those total acreage looks like.
And I would just, for comparison, when I came into office the prior year, the state had managed 11,000 acres that year. So we've more than tripled the pace and scale, but there's still a lot of more work to do. That's why we asked the legislature for an additional appropriation to expand the scope and our collaboration on the Good Neighbor Authority so we can have healthier forests. Last question.
And Tom pretty much took the question, but in terms of prescribed burning this spring and summer and into the fall, what's the calculus currently on that on state and federal lands?
Would you like to comment?
I can comment on national forest lands.
Okay.
Yeah. Just real quickly, we have a pretty active spring and fall prescribed burn program, and this year it was a little bit less than last year. We just didn't have the environmental conditions that are required to make sure that when we start applying fire that it's going to be effective in meeting our intent. But we look forward every fall. We look forward to a longer window than we have in the spring. So, yep, we do it together. I mean, we are lockstep again with the state, with the NRC, and other federal agencies. When we have an opportunity in a window, everybody's there to help.
Great. Thank you for coming out, and be safe out there.